What I will tell you is that complicating your marketing beyond simply saying, I'm going to do a very straightforward, here's what I'm going to do, whether it's a webinar, a challenge, or a video series. I'm going to send some emails to get people to sign up for it. I'm going to do the launch mechanism. I'm going to, try to drum up support in the middle of it. And then I'm going to send emails afterwards. If you do anything more than that, chances are you're making it too complicated.
Welcome to the Online Genius Podcast, where host and renegade-thinking beer-brewing lawyer turned online entrepreneur Bobby Klink proves that building and protecting your online genius doesn't have to be rocket science. Bobby and his expert guests break down online marketing and the legal stuff so you can stop sweating the small stuff and get back to building your amazing business. Now, here's your host, Bobby Klink.
Hey there, welcome to episode 118 of the Online Genius Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klink. And, today's Foundations Friday is a business foundation. It is a concept that I struggle with and that I've learned, and it's been repeated to me over and over again. This is a lesson that my brain has required a few different lessons on. And so I wanted to talk about it. And the central concept of today's Foundation Friday is make business simple, or keep it simple, stupid, which is kind of one of my core beliefs. And this is something I want to talk about because it's something that a lot of us struggle with. We struggle with it in a lot of different ways, but one of the things that I have learned, and also that if I look around at the people who I say, I want my business to look like that person's business because of the influence they have, because of the revenue they're making, because of all of those things. Now, they do some fancy things here and there, but when you look at their business, it's pretty darn simple. And the reason why is because that's kind of the reality of the way things work. And we get distracted. Before I talk about this, I want to talk about why we get distracted. Now, we get distracted because there are a lot of different ways that you could build your business. You could, for example, build your business based upon any number of different social media platforms that you could focus on. You could say, well, I'm going to be on Instagram, or I'm going to be on Facebook, or I'm going to be on LinkedIn, or I don't know why anyone would do this, but I'm going to be on Twitter, or, you get the point. There's so many different options out there, and you hear people talking about all of them. And then you hear about the different kinds of products you could offer. There's kind of little ebooks you could offer. There are things like online courses. There are memberships. There are group coaching programs. There are masterminds. And you could keep going and going and going and going. And so you've heard about all of those. And so you're like, oh, well, I should do this. Ooh, I should do that. Ooh, I should do that. Because all of it sounds interesting. And then you think about how are you going to launch that product? And you hear about people talking about challenges and webinars and a product launch formula, like 3 video series. And then maybe, you do something and watch like one of my coach and mentors, James Wedmore, does like an 8-part video series. And you're like, ooh, that could be good. And then maybe you hear about hybrids of the different ones and combinations, and it just all starts to seem like there are all of these different options, and there are. And so the tendency that a lot of the times we have is to start thinking about this and going about it in a way where what we do is we try to do all of the things. And when we try to do all of the things, we end up doing none of the things well. And so what I want to stress to you today is that at the end of the day, you need to simplify, pare back. Don't offer an ebook that you sell, a short course, a long course, a middle course, a membership, a group coaching program, and a mastermind, and 18 other things. Don't have 3 different memberships. Don't do all that. When you look at the successful entrepreneurs and you say, I want to be like that person, if you're honest, they fall into 2 camps. There are the people who succeed selling 1 or 2 courses and that's it and nothing else, or had did that for a long time. But literally, I'm talking about, if you can think of people, Marie Forleo with B School forever, that was the only thing she offered. Now she has Copy Cure too, but she has 2 products. My original mentor, Amy Porterfield, for a long time had 3 products, then pared it down to 2. And so you look at that and you start to say, okay, I don't need all these other things. So, that's kind of one model, is the people who have 1 or 2 products and that's it. Now, then the other route are people who have an ascension model where they teach one general concept or one general kind of skill or something, and they do it at different price points. So an example of this would be Stu McLaren, who has his course, Tribe, and then a membership on the back end. And then he also has a mastermind. The same thing, James Wedmore, my coach. He has his Business by Design course. He has the Business by Design Next Level, which is a group coaching program. And then he has his mastermind. And effectively, that's it. But it's kind of all along a single path. And so when you do that route, again, you're keeping it simple. And by keeping it simple, those entrepreneurs, they're not having to create content and create marketing, create all this for all of these different ideas that don't match and don't come together. It's very simple. Now, my business is basically, I look at it and it's kind of like I have 3 offers. I have my templates, and I consider those all kind of one offer because I don't have a bunch of different offers that are competing with each other. I just have different levels within the templates. People figure out what they need. They buy the legal templates. Then on the business side, I have my Fans First Society, which is the entry-level area for people to come in. And there are my paid workshops, my monthly workshops that are part of that are also part of the value that people get there. And then I have my group coaching program, which I just launched recently, which is related to that same concept. So that's what I have in my business. Essentially, I have 3 products because I don't count my workshops as a product because they're really just part of the Fans First model. And so I'm not sitting here trying to come up with a bunch of different ideas, a bunch of different trainings, and a bunch of different content for all of those things. No. And every time I try to make things complicated, things get harder. See, the reason why we try to make things complicated is a couple of different things. Well, I should say it comes from a few different places. Sometimes it just happens over time. We're serving one audience, and then that audience has another need, and so we add another product, and then they have another need, so we add another product, et cetera. Now, I've talked to some people who they serve teachers, for example, teacherpreneurs who are serving other teachers, and they end up with so many different products, kind of like my templates, but hundreds of them. And then various memberships and courses and this. And at the end of the day, they have 1,000 SKUs, basically different individual products. That makes my head hurt. But they did it for a good reason, right? Because they were trying to serve their people. And so a lot of people try to do that, and it becomes complicated like that. So I'm going to tell you that's one of the reasons this happens. And if that's you, you just need to be conscious of that and try to trim back and say, can I group them together so it's not as complicated so we don't have those things? And yes, maybe that means you don't sell an individual product at $7, but that's okay. You don't need to be doing that. But the other reason why we make it complicated is because we learn these things and we're like, ooh, I want to do that. I want to try that. Ooh, I want to try that. Ooh, that sounds like fun. And this happens sometimes with products where we're like, oh, I've got a course, but I want a membership because I want to do that too. But it really rears its head more on the marketing side. And what can happen is we can complicate the living hell out of the way we're going to sell our products. Now, I was doing this, and some of it is just because this is what people teach, right? So until earlier this year, I was selling everything with webinars and all that, and I was doing launches and I was doing all that. And then, someone pointed out to me, nobody really wants to go to a webinar about the legal stuff. All you're doing is putting a roadblock in the way to prevent people from buying. And we do a lot of that as entrepreneurs. And we do it because other people have used these methods and they worked for them. And so like, ooh, I want to try that. Or maybe we just put a lot of different things in. Now, sometimes I will see these funnel maps, like I'll see it especially with people who are doing like chatbots, and it makes my head hurt. There's like so many squiggly lines connecting different things. And I'm like, no. I should not need like a master's degree in like organizational logic to understand a funnel map. But a lot of people are doing things that complicated. And what I will tell you is that complicating your marketing beyond simply saying, I'm going to do a very straightforward, here's what I'm going to do, whether it's a webinar, a challenge, or a video series. I'm going to send some emails to get people to sign up for it. I'm going to do the launch mechanism. I'm going to, try to drum up support in the middle of it. And then I'm going to send emails afterwards. If you do anything more than that, chances are you're making it too complicated. Now, again, I'm not saying don't try things. Definitely try things, but don't feel like you need to do it all. I'm giving you permission. No, forget that. I'm not giving you permission. I'm telling you not to do it all, not to make it complicated. And that means like with social media, don't feel like you need to be everywhere. Be where you want to be and focus there. What I have learned is if you keep things simpler, at least in my business, when I stray away from keeping things simple, things kind of go, backwards, pear-shaped. Don't do that. When I keep it simple, things work. When I send emails to people and say, hey, do you want to sign up for this? It tends to work. And they're like, yeah, I want to. So I'm going to encourage you. Make your business simple. Like quarterly, you should look at your business and say, am I making things too complicated? And try to find ways to simplify. Now, I'm not saying you get rid of things that are working, but I'm saying oftentimes we add complications we don't need. And so if that's what you're doing, I'm going to encourage you to back away, make it simple, and keep it simple in your business. If you will do that, you will end up better off in the long run. That's it for this episode of the Online Genius Podcast. Make sure you keep it simple. Look at your business, figure out ways to streamline. Do that, and you will be much happier in 2020. That's it. I'll see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Online Genius Podcast. Make sure to tune in next week for more great tips, tricks, and strategies to help you build and protect your online genius.